Brother, today we're going to talk about building confidence after you felt like you've abandoned yourself maybe over the past few years. You feel you haven't stood up for yourself, you haven't been consistent with certain habits, and as a result, you feel a lot of self doubt. You feel maybe you can't follow through with your actions. And I've been there. I run men's groups as well over the past 4 years. So I've spoken to a lot of guys who are in a similar situation where you just don't have that level of self belief you need to get out of the situation you're currently in. I think there's normally a few reasons why that happens. The first is not following through. Maybe there are a lot of things you tell yourself you need to do. Maybe it's a habit you need to stop, a bad friend who you need to cut off, whatever it is. Maybe you've always been talking about doing this one thing, but for whatever reason, you haven't followed through with it. You feel like you're waiting for maybe a feeling of more confidence before you take that action. The second is when we don't follow through over time, we feel a sense of shame, maybe a lot of negative self talk. And I know that experience when I procrastinated in the past on taking action, and you get a lot of negative thoughts. And because you're not doing anything to counteract that in terms of taking the small next step, it's easy for this negative self talk to become a narrative and an identity we take on. Another challenge is when we're in this kind of rut where we've been abandoning ourselves. It's so easy to procrastinate because we feel that we've been in a bad place for a while. So how can we suddenly go from this place of still feeling bad? We've got the limiting narratives. How do I then take action? And also compounding is if you don't have accountability, if you don't have brothers in your life who can support you and guide you through that process, then I know that feeling of being isolated, and it's very difficult when you're doing this alone to make real meaningful progress. So we're going to go through each of these on this short video today and give you an idea of where you want to be in the end. So the first is not following through. Let's say you're in this place where you're lacking confidence. And I think one thing that is easy to do, let's give an example that I'm someone who hasn't gone to the gym in a long time. Maybe I've never gone to the gym consistently. One problem we have when we're trying to get out of this rut is we set ourselves a challenge that I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week. I'm going to do 2 hours, and we give this really high bar for ourselves. Problem when we set a really high bar for ourselves is it makes it really easy to not meet that bar. So one of the best things you can do is, as this image shows, dropping the bar to a very low place so you can start building evidence that you're going to follow through with what you say. So an example with the gym is, rather than saying, I haven't gone to the gym in 6 months, I'm going to do 7 workouts in the next week because I need to sort this out, I need to get things going. No, instead of that, what you would do is, maybe that's still the goal, maybe you want to go to the gym 5 days a week, but you give yourself step down options, so you're still building evidence that you're making progress. So, what this might be is, I set the intention, gym 5 times, but actually, I'm also going to include if I just go to the gym, if I just turn up. Because what you'll find is, if you just turn up to the gym, you're probably going to end up doing a workout. And actually, you can give yourself more options if you really haven't taken action for a long time. Maybe another win that is almost like a tick box on that day is if you just go out for a walk. Even if you don't make it to the gym, you're still recognizing that I could have laid in bed today. I could have done no exercise. But actually, I've taken that step to get out. And it's about building some positive reinforcement in your life, building some evidence that you're starting to take the steps to where you want to be, whether that's to be more fit, whether it's to be more confident in dating, whether it's to get better at your work. This example of lowering the bar is going to massively help if you feel low confidence, if you don't believe in yourself at this moment in time. Dropping the bar so you can start writing down in your journal, which is going to be the next bit, writing down in your journal that, right, I've gone outside today, I could have laid in bed, but tick, I've done that, I'm happy, I've been disciplined, I've done what I needed to do today. So the first thing is lowering the bar, and this can help with following through and start getting some positive momentum going. The next thing that comes up for us, if we've been in this cycle of not taking action, feeling like we're low on confidence, is negative self-talk. We haven't done what we've needed to do, so it becomes a pattern in our minds where maybe like, I'm such a failure. The inner critic can come up, which is something that at any stage of our journey in life, I think we can hear this inner critic, but when we're not taking the action also, it becomes a lot stronger, and it's harder to find that evidence. So once we've done this first step of starting to follow through, taking these small steps, what you want to do is write that down at the end of the day. Not only can you write down all your evidence of where you're basically compared to where you are now, where you're taking positive steps forward, you can also compare it to a day where you're just lying in bed. You obviously don't have to get up any day most of the time. So anything you do beyond that is a win, but we often interpret it in our minds that we need to be doing a lot more. We have quite a harsh standard on ourselves, but I want you to start reflecting on what is going well. Where are you building small evidence that you're moving forward, you're moving in the right direction? And you can also start to list out what is the limiting narrative that is preventing you from going to the gym, and we'll get on to what that looks like now. So we've identified not following through, we've identified that negative self-talk comes up. And when we have these limiting narratives, we start to believe that procrastination is an answer. Deep down, I think what is really happening is we have a sense of fear, a sense that we can't do this, and our answer is often just to put doing what we need to do off, and we start to procrastinate. I think when it comes to confidence, I've experienced this in my life where I'm looking at someone else and I see their external appearance. I've had this definitely socially, definitely when it comes to dating, where I look at a guy and he seems so confident on the outside. And our assumption is often when we see these confident people, we obviously can't see what's going on inside their bodies, but we make an assumption that because they look confident pretty much all the time externally, internally they're always feeling good, they're always feeling positive, in a good mood. So we start to put conditions on us taking action. So we kind of tell ourselves, maybe when I achieve this thing, maybe when I do the same thing they've done, when I've got more experience in dating, once I've built up more experience at work, then I'll start to feel confident. And I think what we're really doing deep down is kind of telling ourselves that once I'm no longer afraid, then I'll be ready. And that is the trap, because there's never really a time where we no longer feel afraid. I think it's the biggest sort of misconception when it comes to confidence, that we think we need to always feel confident internally. We always need to feel positive. And that is the difference between someone who isn't confident. They doubt their feelings. They think they need to feel something else before they can start the action. Whereas the confident person, maybe 5 days out of 10, he doesn't feel great inside, she doesn't feel great inside, yet they still take that first step. So when it comes to procrastination, we need to be aware and notice that often when we're saying, I'm not going to go to the gym because I need to do this first, I need to do that first, I'm not going to start the business because I need to be good looking or I need to be in shape, and then that will give me this internal feeling that I'm ready. But we're waiting for a state that's never really going to come. Even if it does come, it doesn't matter too much. It's just we can still take the small action, which I'm going to explain a little later on. So once we've lowered the bar for ourselves, once we've started to build this evidence of things going well, once we've started to recognize that often our thinking that is delaying action is fear, and that leads to procrastination, and the thing we really need to do is accept these feelings of fear, discomfort, and still move forward. Then the next thing is accountability. So this is my men's group in Da Nang. It's a group of guys where everyone gets together, everyone holds themselves accountable. I think, of course, you can get through these steps by yourself, but if you want long-term growth, one of the things we do in our group is an accountability round every week where we reflect on where we're out of alignment, where we're messing up, And it's not on a level of judgment. Accountability is really a chance to assess as well. I've set a goal for myself that I need to not spend any time on my phone, or like just 1 hour on my phone per day this week. If I don't follow through, it doesn't mean I'm a bad person for not doing that, but it allows me to get feedback. Is it a meaningful goal? Do I need to go in a different direction? And it's just so hard when you don't get that feedback to really consistently develop and grow yourself. You need brothers around you, you need people around you. So look in your local area for things like men's groups, any sort of communities that are in person where you're going to get some level of accountability, and where you can get honest feedback from other people. Because if we just, I think a limiting belief when it comes to building confidence is, I need to go by myself, I need to do this all alone. But when we have different perspectives, maybe someone can ask me a question and that makes me realize where I was going wrong, makes me course correct and go in the right direction. So once you start lowering the bar, you've built your evidence, you've identified where procrastination is having a role, you're then looking at getting accountability to make this sustainable, so you're not always pushing yourself so hard. You have people who care for you and look out for you, who are also helping you move in the right direction, move towards your goals. And I think one thing I'd like to leave you with is this idea of climbing a mountain, of having belief that if you do all these small steps, if you take the small actions, so when it comes to this example of going to the gym, you're really breaking it down. Have I just left the house today? Have I gone on a walk? And believing over time, if you just do that small step, even if it's the smallest possible action you can take today, that you will build up, you will build evidence towards yourself that you can do this, you can make change in your life, that you can keep your word to yourself. And this is, having this belief is, I think, what a lot of confident people have, that if I keep doing the right actions today, I don't need to feel confident today, but as long as I do those small actions, take those steps, then I'm going to get to where I want to in life. So we obviously have this belief, but then focus on the process, focus on today. What can you do that is going to keep your word to yourself? What are you going to do that is going to help you move away from bad habits? And this is the model that has really, reverse engineering it, helped me in my life go from a place of feeling like I'd kind of abandoned myself, like I wasn't really taking the right actions, and now feeling like someone who's confident. I'm running a workshop on this in person in Da Nang. I've never run a workshop before, but I think that's the important thing, that I'm going to put it on. I'm not sure how it's going to go. I'm going to feel some nerves, I'm going to feel some anxiety, and that's okay. I believe I'm confident because I've just put that on. I've put it on very short notice, and I'm going to show up however many people turn up. And I think that is really what confidence is. It's not about always feeling great. So if you're in that place of feeling down, feeling lost, like you've abandoned yourself, that isn't a judgment on you. It doesn't mean anything about yourself. Things can change very quickly. It's about building that momentum, lowering the bar, building up positive evidence, acknowledging procrastination, building brothers, creating a sense of accountability in your life, long-term belief that you're going to get to where you want to over time by creating the small consistent steps, doing the small consistent steps, focus on things you can control internally, and you're going to get to where you need to be, brother. I hope that helped. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.